always I. That is a good reminder. Yes,
Yeah.
you said something about experiencing, no matter it's loba or dosa,
Yes.
because they experience
Yes.
something.
The thing which they like or dislike.
Yeah, what they like.
Otherwise, how can
Yes.
we say, I like this or I
I
like
like
that?
That I have to consider more. I have to consider more. I know so little about loba and dosa, only in theory or intellectual.
Because no matter Buddha taught about the ayatana or paticcasamuppada, just to lead to understand whatever appears now. Because of understanding, not because of remembering the number and the term.
Ajahn, it seems that since they're all dhammas anyway, and dhammas arise by conditions beyond anyone's control, so that understanding itself should, and I mean, why bother whether it's this or that? It's still
because
dhammas.
the I is there. Even we say it's nama and rupa, the I is there.
So, I mean, as we talked yesterday, it does seem to me that as understanding develops, the understanding that it's just Dhamma comes before the understanding that it's this Dhamma or that Dhamma.
We cannot change the characteristic of any Dhamma at all. But what is not known is that it's a reality. By its appearance to be that which cannot, that which cannot experience or that which is now experiencing. And that which is now experiencing is not known, just heard about it.
But the firm understanding must happen with regard to it being just as Dhamma.
No matter we use the word Dhamma or not, it's a reality,
A reality.
which appears.
And the
Whatever.
point is, what is Dhamma? So loba is Dhamma, loba is nama Dhamma that it experiences. So it's not a matter of understanding nama Dhamma and then understanding loba or seeing, but at the moment of understanding loba, because it is the Dhamma that experiences an object. So understanding loba means understanding what is nama, what is Dhamma at that moment. So it's not a matter of just understanding Dhamma in a vacuum. It has to be reality now.
Right.
So this is why we talk about seeing, because understanding the characteristic of seeing that which experiences what is visible right now, that is the understanding of seeing as nama or seeing as Dhamma. So it is the beginning of understanding what is Dhamma, one kind of
Right.
Dhamma.
So seeing as Dhamma, hearing as Dhamma, visible object as Dhamma, sound as Dhamma.
Yes, so that is the understanding of seeing or understanding of loba. So it's not something different from understanding seeing itself at this moment or loba itself.
Seeing is different from hearing
Yes.
and different from sound, but all are Dhammas.
But at the moment of understanding seeing, there's no thought about hearing or sound or whatever. So at the moment of understanding seeing, it is the understanding of Dhamma, because it is the
Yes,
understanding
yes.
of that reality. In the moment of understanding hearing, no thought about seeing or sound. It is the understanding of Nama Dhamma. So understanding Nama Dhamma is not different from the moment of understanding reality right now. That's why when we say to people, what is Dhamma? If there's no understanding of seeing or hearing or visible object or sound, no idea what Dhamma is, because no understanding of what reality
Right.
is.
But understanding seeing, this is my question, understanding seeing as Dhamma or understanding seeing as seeing is different.
No, it's the same, because
But seeing is not hearing.
It doesn't matter, because seeing, if it's understanding of seeing, it is understanding, it is Dhamma, which is anatta, just that reality that experiences. So understanding seeing as seeing is understanding
Seeing.
Dhamma at that moment, or seeing as Dhamma. We don't have to use the word as Dhamma, or we don't even have to use the word seeing, but at the moment right now of understanding that particular reality, it is understanding Dhamma right there, right then.
It's understanding Dhamma, that I agree,
And it's understanding seeing.
as seeing.
You said the I is there, the idea of self. So we don't realize it really, that the I is there. No? You remind us, but we don't really
Because-
realize it.
Yeah. Panya knows everything as it is, no matter it is which khanda, Rupa khanda, Vedana khanda, Sanya khanda, Sankhara khanda, or Vijnana khanda. Otherwise, the I is there.
And that is the point. When the I is there, it's not understanding Dhamma. So when it's the I, even if we say it's seeing, it sees, if there's still the idea that I see at that moment, then it's not understanding seeing as Dhamma.
yeah.
It's not understanding
But
Dhamma.
it's a beginning of understanding if it is realized that the I is still there. What realizes is there is I who sees, I who hear or like to understand.
Well,
it's a beginning.
It's
yeah.
thinking about it. It's thinking about, how there's the idea of I that sees, but it's not understanding Dhamma at that moment, because it's not understanding reality as reality. It's just thinking about the story about how I must be there, how I seems to be there.
But even thinking about I, that is also a Dhamma, that is conditioned. So little by little it can be realized.
So right now there can be understanding of thinking itself as Dhamma, because seems to be I there is just a story, a concept. So the understanding is of thinking at this moment as Dhamma, just a passing Dhamma, just that reality. Doesn't matter what it thinks about. It's the thinking is the Dhamma.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That is important. It means less clinging. Yeah. It doesn't matter. We don't mind so much.
When there's clinging, and it can be strong clinging to the Dhamma or understanding, everything matters a lot.
Yeah.
So detachment means just accepting whatever is conditioned at this moment. So detachment is the opposite of minding.
Then when it's not right understanding, it can be I accept.
I accept. So, because everything is taken for self, so even when it's not understanding, there can be, I accept that it's attachment, I accept it's aversion, and that can be wrong understanding
Again, yeah.
Even if it's not in words, it happens. Yeah, Sarah, now, just now when you described thinking, now I get it, that, yeah.
Thinking is the Dhamma.
Thinking is a Dhamma and thinking is thinking.
Yes.
And at moment of realizing the truth, at that moment what appears to be known while thinking?
Thinking.
That which can experience
Oh, okay.
in order to get closer and closer to no self, no one. It's only the reality which experience.
And we can say it's actually understanding it as nama at that moment, so we don't have to use that word, but when it's understanding of the nature of thinking, it is understanding Dhamma, it is understanding nama, it is understanding reality which experiences. Different from when it's I think.
Like as long as the understanding of thinking about sanya, even it's there all the time, no understanding of it as that which experiences.
You mean that when sanya, there is sanya so often all day, really, that there is recognizing or remembering, and then you
Don't neglect sanya. It's there too.
neglect.
Yeah, not as self. So in order to have more understanding of realities, there shouldn't be the idea that I have eradicated the idea of I, the vijnana. What about the sanya, and what about the vedana, and what about the other reality which is there? Like lopa is there, see?
But of course, we cannot choose what to understand. But since it's there, it can be understood.
So the first developed understanding of another level is whenever satipatthana arises, by then no doubt that it's not self, no expectation, speculation, but it's just different from a moment when it's not there. That's why in Tipitaka it says, reality or the object appears well. Now we begin to understand what is meant by well. It means that without sati, even whatever appears does not appear well at all.
And that understanding also is the understanding why Cetasika must arise with Chitta.
And from then on, there can be the development of understanding what and when is sati. Not
And each reality like that.
little by little, to know the exact moment whether there is sati or no sati. Not having sati, try to have sati, as that is wrong. But to understand sati, the difference when sati does not arise, in order to understand sati only when sati arises. If sati at that level hasn't arisen yet, there is sati which cannot be known right now at moment of understanding intellectually.
And that's why it has to go step by step. Satyayan, then Kichayan. We have to hear a lot.
Yes.
It has to be firm.
You often emphasize that it is important to know the moments with sati and without sati.
Otherwise, how can panya develops on and on? Because one just think about sati when will it arise and so on. But that is not conditions for sati to arise. It's only understanding, little by little. Now, does the object appear well? See, from hearing, one realizes it. There must be the difference between appearing well and not well.
And this, John, would answer Nina's earlier question about knowing that you were saying knowing that there's I was thinking like knowing that there's no understanding is also intellectual understanding, like this, that it does not appear well,
Yeah.
that this is intellectual understanding.
And we can also say when it doesn't appear well, that is...
And we think that it appear well.
But when it's not appearing well, that's when there's bound to be lots of doubt because
Or
it's
wrong
not a
understanding.
wrong
Instantly.
understanding following it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why when people go to meditation center and they try to catch or to concentrate and they thought that that is sati, not at all. It's moha, and the self is there.
And we can see that there's little understanding and it's forgotten. How much more we need to hear again and again.
When you mention that each moment is samsara, Does it mean that the real meaning of samsara is the rising and falling away of reality? Because people think of samsara as the cycle of birth and death, but actually it has to be the arising and falling away of each moment, each reality. This is
Missing
real
one cannot be samsara.
samsara. Okay. So the meaning, the real meaning of samsara is the arising and falling away of reality. And if one reality, like one ayatana, is missing, or one citta is missing, then there cannot be the cycle of birth and death. So actually, each moment which arises and falls away is samsara.
Because it's followed up by another. It's followed up by another moment.
Well, even each one itself is arising and falling away is samsara. But if any one reality is missing, then there cannot be the continuation of life, of birth and death.
But what do you mean by if any reality is missing?
For example, if there's this citta right now didn't arise, there couldn't be the next citta.
That's right.
Right. So if even one citta is missing, then there is no life.
Yes.
So you're saying that understanding the nature of chitta is already explaining the next moment, another chitta, but the understanding is with regard to that moment. If you want to get the meaning of samsara, you understand the nature of chitta, you know.
I don't think it's so complicated. I think it just means any reality is arising and falling away, and that is the deepest meaning of samsara. And if there wasn't that arising and falling away, like of the visible object now which is seen, or the hearing now which hears, then there couldn't be the continuation of realities.
That's what
in
I mean.
Life and death.
You would only understand that there would be continuation from understanding that one reality, the nature of that one reality.
The one that is arising and falling away now.
So it's the
this
same
is
thing
samsara.
as, Nina, it's the same thing as when we talk about life. We're not talking about what we generally call someone's born and then die. It's life means that one reality, this moment.
It is the same. It's like describing what life is.
If there is no citta, can there be samsara?
No.
Mm-hmm.
And another point we were talking the other day about the Sakaya Ditti and Atano Ditti, and there was just one point that there was a little bit of confusion about, which I just clarified. Ditti, and how when any other realities, the softness there, the hardness here, the feeling there is taken for something or someone, it's Atano Ditti. And there was a question about whether these ones here that are taken for something or self, whether they can also be included in Atano Ditti. And Ajahn clarified that if this softness is taken for something like an arm, it is Atano Ditti. But if it is, the softness is taken for my softness or my arm, then it's Sakaya Ditti, not Atano Ditti. So it's just a good point to clarify.
Or we can say that Atano Ditti is Sakaya Ditti.
Okay, so we can say also it's Atano Ditti, but it's also Sakaya Ditti, that when it's taken for arm, it's both.
But if it's just this is hand, but not my hand, it's Atano Ditti.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's why even that is taught by the Buddha.
Yes.
Otherwise, how can we differentiate between the ordinary Atano Ditti and that which we take for I?
And we were discussing the other day about how it is because of Sakaya Ditti, taking this and this and this for oneself, that there is the taking of that and that for other people and for things and tables and tape recorders. So all wrong views depend on Sakaya Ditti.
Nana, do you have Intl.Dhamma?
She asked, what is that?
Yeah. Is this something? Is this microphone?
No.
Is this microphone?
Thank you very much.
No. Is this a table?
No.
So what is it?
It's hardness.
Yes, but hardness here and hardness there. Is this table or is this microphone? Is this table?
No.
So it's hard, but it's not a table, right?
Mm.
And this is also hard, but it's not microphone. So when you think of hardness here and hardness there, different idea, right? You have the idea of table here, and you have the idea of microphone here. See? That is Intl.Dhamma, taking that as something. Is that he? It's just soft and hard, but is that he?
Yes.
So that is Intl.Dhamma, taking that which is only hard or soft or whatever as something, like one used to take for this or that all day. So they're Intl.Dhamma all day.
And what we were saying was, when this is taken for me, my body, my arm, my thinking, that is Sakaya Ditti. But when it's taking this for table or that for hey, it's Intl.Dhamma. Atta means something or self, taking for self or taking for something.
For example, right now, this chin, you feel your chin, right? It's your chin, right? So that is Sakaya Ditti. But looking at Sarah's chin is Intl.Dhamma.
Chin is chin, but this chin doesn't belong to you. So it's not Sakaya, it's only Atta, something.
Success on me.
Ajahn, when you say there's Intl.Dhamma all day, not every idea of table and microphone is Intl.Dhamma.
Really? What are there here? Not Intl.Dhamma?
Well, that's my question. Does it have to be Ditti?
Why not? Because it's something. Well,
Right.
it's not at all.
So does that mean there's Sakaya Ditti all day too?
Sakaya Ditti only here.
Yes.
Yeah. Only my eyes, my ears, whatever belong to me.
Right.
And
But
Intl.Dhamma all day, that was the question.
No, but
All
This-
day, reversing.
This is Nina. All day.
but Ditti, we qualify it with Ditti. Ditti means wrong view, wrong.
Is it not wrong? Taking the
It's
hardness.
Sanya Vipalasa.
Pardon?
It's just Sanya
The,
Vipalasa.
so there, how many Vipalasa is there? Ditti Vipalasa
Sanya Vipalasa,
Sanya
with
Vipalasa,
and without Ditti.
and Chitta Vipalasa. So they are different.
So this Nina can be just Chitta Vipalasa.
It depends. If there is no Ditti at all, you know that there is not Nina in the world at all. There are only that which arises and falls away.
Or maybe not, or maybe I'm just
Just
trying to recognize
ignorance, many
Nina.
moments of ignorance, no thinking about whether it really is Nina, just seeing
Just
and thinking.
differentiating between Nina and Sarah.
Buddha saw, suppose, Nina. he understood.
Yes.
But anyone who has no idea that about the truth and whisper object and so on must think that this is Nina. It cannot be anything
Yes,
else.
but not always with Dithi.
It depends, but usually, what is this?
Nina,
Okay, right or wrong?
right conventionally is
But
not
you
Acharya.
know that it's Nina for sure.
Yes.
If you haven't heard at all,
Yes,
must be Nina.
yes.
And that
But
is
not-
Titi.
Is it Dithi?
So when we talk about all day, it does mean that every moment.
Oh, okay.
Like seeing all day,
Okay.
it does mean that seeing all the time, each
Thinking
moment.
with attachment
Yeah.
all day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Countless
Yeah,
moments.
just
Many
Yes,
more
I
than
agree,
we
it
thought.
arises more often than we know.
Many more moments than we ever thought.
Could Intl.Dhamma say, no, it cannot be at every moment because it cannot be at moment of seeing and hearing and smelling and tasting and touching. So we just kind of speak generally. We don't have to always specify
Right.
which cheetahs it arises with.
Yeah, we can, in a general way, we can say very, very, very often. Right?
Is there a moment of seeing the whisper object, no Nina there?
I mean, even when we are talking about the distinction between moments when there is Dithi and when there is just Sanya Vipalasa without Dithi, even at that time there can be actually be Dithi without knowing.
The
Because
person
there's no
who has
understanding.
eradicated Titi can have only Sanya
Can be
Vipalasa
sure- can
and
be sure
Chitta
that there's no
Vipalasa,
Titi.
no Titi.
Your question was, is there a moment of seeing visible object, no Nina there? Well, very, very seldom, hardly ever.
Or none at all.
Or not at all.
Depending on person and the degree of understanding.
Yeah, very, very little. Yeah. I have to sigh about it.
This side?
I sigh. Oh. So this is.
And that's not you.
Kaya Winyati,
Vinyati.
a deliberate sigh. Sachi Vinyati, yes.
So this is really difficult. It's a moment of seeing visible object. No Nina there.
Yeah, but each is Nina.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be better rather than thinking that it's really difficult? It's so good to know.
It's good to know.
Yeah, even intellectually.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah. Even intellectual. You are quite right. So we have a rare occasion to discuss this now.
The more you
Very
understand
precious.
reality, the more subtle it is.
More subtle it is. So it's very precious now, this moment, that we discuss this. That I have an opportunity now to listen to this. Yeah, not in Holland.
So come again to meet.
Very necessary, yeah.
Getting back to Tano Ditti. So, for example, knowing that this is a chair and that's a table, so one sits in the chair, one doesn't sit on the table. Does that necessarily involve Tano Ditti?
Is it permanent?
Well, I don't think there's any particular
You think that it's
notion of-
there all the time. The chair is a chair.
Depends what you mean by permanent, of course, but one
In
thinks it,
your understanding,
one
though,
thinks
nothing arises and falls away yet.
for the being who has, has no idea of self, there could still be
Idea,
the idea that
but no no wrong understanding about the truth.
So for
Yeah,
Hege-
but you
for
asked
Hege,
whether
it
it
may not
rises-
be Atanu Tithi, because just seeing is something, but without Dithi.
For whom?
For Hege.
I mean, for hey knows this is the plaything and this is the one who is nice to me, but actually it's just ignorance and attachment.
So
no
it does mean that
Ditti.
it arises all day.
Right.
No, and
Yeah.
it doesn't mean every time there's a thought of the coffee table for putting one's cup on and the chair for sitting on that there's Ditti, Atanu Ditti. So
And
it
there
just
is
depends.
ignorance.
Ignorance and attachment most of the time, yes.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. So it's good to clarify, otherwise people may think that whenever attachment arises, there's Atanu
That's why we have
Ditti.
to go to the details
Yes.
little by little.
Yes.
But to let them know that what and where is Titi,
rising all
any
day just
case-
means it's common. That's all. That's
Yeah,
common.
Ignorance
That's
is
a
not
good expression.
is not as
Yeah.
bad as ditthi, in terms that, of course, ignorance is the root of ditthi, but ditthi is the one that takes one further and further away from
Yeah.
the truth. And even studying, especially, it's a good reminder for people studying the Dhamma, because we can study the Dhamma with idea of self, and that's not
That's
no
it.
point.
That's it. Or just for the sake of the self.
It's just to have less loba, less dosa, or to have more understanding, or to have more metta in a day. It's useless really, because it's just studying for the sake of clinging more to oneself.
And we don't always appreciate how precious this is, this here together with friends and discussing the Dhamma. That's very rare opportunity.
And the self is there with citta and sanya and vedana and sankhara. Otherwise, where is it?
Could you repeat the Sarah, the beginning of the sentence? I didn't get the 5 khandhas. Yeah? What was the beginning of the sentence?
I mean, the self is with all the khandhas.
Excuse me?
The self is with all khandhas.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That's why we can understand what it's meant by vedana and upadana. So it is vedanupadana khandha.
Yes.
Clinging to each of the khandhas, taking it for self. We had a little more discussion the other day in one of our sessions, and the point you brought up at the foundation came up about vasana and accumulated habits or mannerisms. For example, one can see Hei's accumulated habits or playful tendencies. And we had mentioned, or you had mentioned in the foundation, about how these habits are accumulated, and about the example of the Arahat who jumped over puddles, and Ajahn had mentioned that it's because of accumulated lobha. So the lobha has been eradicated, but there is still that habit, that tendency to act or behave in that way. So are we saying that it is the past lobha that is paktu upanisya pachya, is to conditioning the chittas which motivate the kaya vinyati and the other rupas in
Yeah.
a moment? Just
Yeah.
anything like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything
Yeah.
like that.
Anything like that, okay.
And sanya, maybe?
Everything.
Because, for example, I'm used to walking around this, and someone else causes. It's also because of sanya.
Anything.
So even though if lopa is eradicated, the sanya is still there
Anything.
to influence the mannerism.
Anything.
It's just showing what a very broad condition, how anything at all can be conditioned right now for the citta, which conditions those rupas in that particular way. The sanya, the vitaka, all the kinds of past thinking, the intending to act in this way or not.
And I think I've heard Ajahn say before, whether I've got this right, I'm not sure, but for the same reason, the past sanya that has marked things that are understood wrongly can still influence the way the world is perceived now.
anything.
And that would it. And even the past wrong view can condition the Silabbata Paramasa, or the habit of, for example, the past wrong view can condition the habit of going to the center and sitting cross-legged and closing eyes, even though no wrong view. So anything from the past can condition anything.
And this is similar to when, I don't know which disciples of the Buddha, they were talking about what's the best part about this particular forest, and one says this, and Buddha said all are right. It's just each person's
Habits or tendencies, right? One has the tendency of studying the Abhidhamma details, and one has the habit of going and living in seclusion, and one has different habits, different tendencies, but just the understanding is what matters.
So when we remember something in the past, maybe one person may be remembered more frequently or more impressed. So it's all sanya. So for all the concepts, sanya mark, or for all the reality, sanya marked. But some seems more impressed and easily to be remembered, to be experienced in the thinking again. Is that because the stronger Vedana condition that sanya? Stronger pleasant or unpleasant feeling?
The strong Vedana has fallen away,
Yes.
but Sanya remembers.
So still, it's okay, still sanya, right?
So,
But we didn't say it's all sanya.
Okay.
Just sanya is one of the conditions.
Right,
Yeah.
for anything, yeah.
So there are still the influence of accumulated tendencies,
Right.
like attachment, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and interest in particular objects.
Right, interest comes from,
Chanda.
all right, not
It's accumulated.
necessary. Okay.
so
It doesn't matter at all what are there, but Sanya remembers.
So if there's something that you like, there can be sanya not only to the object but also to the feeling that arises. So there are many things associated.
Nana has accumulation to sit here, right? Whatever.
You are here now, right? Because you decided to come here.
Yes.
And there's a reason why you decided to come rather than to go somewhere else. Right? Same with any moment, yeah. But we talk about our interest in certain things being accumulated. So things we like, particularly the liking increases over time, or we say it accumulates. So it builds up, right?
What kind of feeling now, Nana?
Pleasant.
And how long does that pleasant feeling last?
One moment.
One moment and then gone, and then who knows about the next one. Can you make pleasant feeling last longer?
No.
Why not?
Because one moment was only one reality.
And what is the cause of that feeling to arise? Can you make it arise?
No.
What can make feeling arise?
Karma.
Okay, so for some kind of, if it's the pleasant bodily feeling, like when touching the softness of hey hey, at that moment the karma conditions that feeling. But when you're listening to the Dhamma and you don't understand and there's unpleasant feeling, that unpleasant feeling is not because of karma, but because of accumulation or habit, that habit of not enjoying what is being heard, that accumulates. So different from the feeling that is conditioned by karma. Like if you have a toothache and there's painful feeling, is that conditioned by karma?
Yes.
Yes. What about when you have that toothache and you feel very unhappy about it and cross with it? That unpleasant feeling, is that because of karma?
Yes.
That one is different. So the toothache, painful feeling, just for one moment, is conditioned by karma. But afterwards, when there's dosa and unhappy feeling, that is because of the accumulation of unhappy feeling. Okay, because of thinking and remembering that painful feeling and then feeling unhappy about it.
So we dislike the pain. We dislike the painful feeling, but not everyone dislikes to the same extent. It depends on their particular accumulation or habit. Different people, everyone likes and dislikes to a different extent and different objects, and that is because of they have liked or disliked those particular things in the past. Right?
I have itchy very much, and that is like fire, and it's painful feeling by karma, and then I dislike it, and they all seem together and they seem to last, because so many moments are following one another. So we have a lot of ignorance by thinking that they can be together and that they last, but in reality, by intellectual understanding only, we know that it is not so, that there are countless moments of itchy, 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 and dislike, dislike, dislike.
And you don't know whether you disliking the bodily unpleasant feeling or you're disliking the dosa that arises.
Right. We don't know.
And then
Ignorance.
And then the moments of seeing or moments of hearing or moments of reflecting on the Dhamma and no thought about the itchiness, so we can see there are different moments. Yeah. And Nana, sometimes some people when they have toothache they scream and cry out, and other people don't say anything and have just a little bit of aversion to it. So we can see it just depends on different habits, different tendencies.
Yes, and the other day you said to me, better talk a bit about Dhamma, because otherwise, poor me, I'm thinking of myself all the time. Very good reminder.
And when you think poor me, it's really poor. It's really poor.
I feel really poor.
It is, because that self is really poor. To have to have a self view arise, to have wrong view arise, it's not something that's worthy.
Yeah, Sakaya Ditti also. Sakaya Ditti.
And it's good to remember that the moment of painful feeling or unpleasant feeling conditioned by karma is just one moment in a sense or process, and then there are countless mind or processes thinking with dosa. So it seems that the painful feeling or the toothache is the problem, but actually the real problem is all the thinking with dosa.
So as you say, very often there are just passing dhammas, but we forget.
It's the second arrow that hurts us more.
yeah.
Like Nana just mentioned, a bit hungry because we did not have breakfast. A bit hungry, so is hungry the vipaka, feeling hungry vipaka? Is it pleasant or unpleasant?
So that is the unpleasant feeling, bodily feeling. Yeah.
And as soon as that has gone, what's there after? Follow? Still unpleasant feeling? Or what?
Still feeling hungry, right?
Yes.
Still unpleasant feeling?
Yes.
Is that vipaka?
Yes.
After just the moment of experiencing that which is not pleasant, gone, the following moments are not the vipaka. At moment of dislike anything, unpleasant feeling, it's not vipaka because it's conditioned by accumulation. Only at moment of touching something, because when there's no touching, can it condition hunger? So what touch what at moment of hunger?
What experience, what touch what at the moment of being hungry? What is experienced by what?
I don't know.
She said, I don't know.
So, when you feel hungry, where do you feel hungry?
Stomach.
Yeah, in the body, right? So there is some experiencing of something through the body that we call hunger, right? What is that we feel in the body that we say is feeling hungry? But what is the kind of feeling? No, I don't mean that. What is it we feel that makes us know that we feel hungry? Is it feeling cold?
No.
No. Is it feeling hot?
No.
Is it feeling hardness in the body? Or softness? Or pressure?
Don't know.
I think it's one or other of those things, or maybe a combination. Some hardness, some pressure.
Maybe. I don't know.
And then Ajahn's earlier question was, immediately following that, when we know we're hungry, just like when Sarah said we know we have a toothache, we feel the pain of the tooth, there is also dislike, which is different from the painful feeling of the tooth. Because one is experienced through the body, and the other is, we could say conventionally, in ordinary language, would say our reaction to the painful bodily feeling. We react, we don't like it, we dislike it, right? And is it the same when feeling hungry?
No.
There is the feeling of, I'm hungry, and then maybe a little bit of dislike, unpleasant feeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, if to take a very obvious example, you're hungry and you're in a restaurant and they take a long time to serve the food. So there's hungry and there's anger, unpleasant, right?
So what we are saying is actually the moment of hunger is just one very short moment, but the many, many moments of thinking about it with dosa, thinking and building up a story about how I didn't have my breakfast and my dad's so mean, he made me come here, and the traffic and this and that, and how I have to come. And so actually the moment of hunger is just such a short moment, but the real problem is all the thinking with dosa. And actually, with regard to what is experienced at the moment of hunger, just like you know that at a moment of touching, only heat or cold or hardness or softness or motion is experienced, it's the same inside the body at that moment of painful feeling that we call hunger. That which is experienced can only be heat or cold or hardness or softness or motion, just the same. But it's just one very brief moment. And when there's thinking about other things like hey, one forgets all about being hungry. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
So, what is it that we call headache?
Oh, sorry, headache. Before we move to headache, so what experience hunger? What experience hunger? We say, Ajahn, initial question was what experience what, right? Sarah explained and John explained, it's the earth element combination on heat element and the wind element. Experienced by what?
I don't know.
It's by Rupa or by Nama?
Rupa.
I mean, what experience? We talk about the earth element combination, earth and the fire element and the wind element, the combined experience, and that's why there's a feeling of hunger, right? But what experience that? Rupa, right? What kind of nama experience the hunger? What type of chitta?
Touching.
Okay.
Yes.
That's right. Okay, so now
Touching, and the hunger is actually the unpleasant feeling with the touching at that moment.
So now I think you know what is headache.
What is headache? What is it?
I don't know.
It's just like hunger. What is headache or toothache? Headache. You want to build up headache.
Headache. When you have pain in the head. What is actually, what's the experience? What is arising at that time? What is arising to know what at that time?
Unpleasant feeling.
Is there, yes.
Unpleasant feeling, yes. And the unpleasant feeling has to arise together with the chitta. Is that right?
Let an unpleasant feeling arise with what? With chitta.
Yes.
Yes. And what does that chitta experience?
Experience hardness.
Yes. Hardness or heat, for example, or pressure. Yes. Just the same.
As hunger.
Just like hunger or toothache. Oh. She says she wants to go get something to eat.
Hunger, what's that?
Just one final question. So what's the difference between headache and hunger?
Different.
Oh, sorry.
Feeling different, unpleasant feeling.
Yes, they are both unpleasant feeling in the body by kind of touching, different location in the body and slightly different kind of hardness or pressure. Right?
Yes.
Thank you, Nana.
Yeah.
You have something to eat. Different topic. Ajahn, when we read about Citta Visuddhi, we know that any moment of samadhi, any moment of right concentration with understanding is Citta Visuddhi from the beginning. My question is, why is the samadhi or the right concentration, why is it called citta, as in Citta Visuddhi?
Usually, citta is another word for samadhi.
I see, just that, that's all. And is there a reason why citta is another word for samadhi, or just that it is?
Because at that moment, samadhi appears, but without the citta, which is there.
Right, okay. So,
It's like when we talk about hunger, see?
yes,
Even it's there,
yes.
but what appears?
What appears is a samadhi at that moment. But the citta itself is referring to samadhi.
Because it is conditioned by samadhi.
Right. So it's just referring to citta with samadhi.
Mm-hmm. And when samadhi is more apparent, we talk about that which is apparent.
The samadhi.
Mm.
But Citta Visuddhi also means, what Visuddhi means to pure, right? So at that moment there's no akusla. Is that also the meaning of Visuddhi?
No, it has to be with understanding though, because at a moment of metta now, it's not Visuddhi if there's no understanding of reality.
Because you see that at what time that ekakata cetasika can appear as samadhi.
When it arises often on the same object.
Yeah.
So Visuddhi is always referring to the development of the path, development of right understanding of reality. If we're talking about samatha, then it cannot be Visuddhi. Yeah. No Visuddhi before the Buddha taught. Another point which I think Nina will be interested in, we always say with regard to someone who's passed away, like Lodevik or my mother or anyone, okay, we're already forgotten, new life, everything here, completely forgotten. And you emphasize this quite a lot and it does condition more detachment and letting go. But when we share merit and we say, oh, for those family members and anyone who may benefit, but actually, in truth, it's very small chance because we can say everyone here is already forgotten, but we share just in case anyone can benefit, that's all.
Better than none.
It's better than none, but actually
Depending on conditions.
just depending on conditions, because usually everything is forgotten.
Well, it's Dhamma. It's like right now, usually I may think about one person with akusla, and then I'm reminded, and then I think that it's better to have metta. So it's a moment of being reminded that kusla is better, and if you can share with someone, why not?
Better than nothing.
I'm always thinking of the sutta without a wall, that the ghosts were crying, that were not reminded of our extension of merit. So it's kusala for everyone who can experience. And I can mention, including Lord Beck, but we don't know whether he experienced it or not. It's okay, we don't know.
So when we say, oh, already forgotten at the end of life, actually what we mean is probably forgotten, or when transferring merit, probably they cannot hear, but in case or other beings may hear. Yes,
The plane where they can experience.
yes, it depends.
And also, Achan, we can see how in the end it's because we like ourselves most. The thing we keep remembering people who we lost is actually because of self. We like ourselves so much.
Clinging all the time to our pleasant feelings.
Kaya vinyati. Kaya vinyati.
Kaya vinyati.
Yeah. Deliberately.
Yes.
Wrong.
Yes.
Wrong.
Not trying to convey a meaning to other people, but just the deliberate action.
No, also trying to compare it. I hope someone sees it. Push the air conditioner on.
It's meant to.
Did you see?
It's meant to be a big hint to you, Sukin.
No, I thought I transferred to
It's
look at
really
it.
like a hint.
It's a hint to you. It's
Because I don't know. I looked around once already. I don't know where.
Because
Look at
it's
air, you think
itchy, you know, it's hot, more itchy.
So it just goes to show we have no idea from the appearance, because I never thought she's trying to make a big hint to everyone. I thought it's just for her own comfort.
No. It is not so nice. It's really akusula. Sanuk.
And we were talking the other day about a little more about the 4 sampajanyas that someone was interested to hear about, and the 4th one, the asamoha sampajanya, is the understanding of the what is not ignorant, what is understanding. Would you say a little more about asamoha?
It means
sampajanya?
moment of understanding.
Moment of understanding.
Reality now. A moment of understanding what appears now.
Yeah,
That's-
anytime.
Anytime. Not just theory, not just intellectual, but pati already. Yes, direct understanding. Yeah.
Well, if there's intellectual understanding, there's also panya arising.
Yeah.
So I think it's any moment with panya of that
But when
kind.
it is asamoha, it's
What about Kojra Sambhajanya?
That's understanding the object of what is the right object for
Yeah, the
understanding.
right
So,
object.
understanding visible object is the object for understanding, and so the asamoha is understanding the actual nature of understanding for understanding to develop.
so it's more developed, right? It's direct understanding, asamoha.
I think it's understanding what understanding is for the development of understanding, because like the first one is understanding what the purpose is, and then understanding what is suitable for,
Suitable,
and
yeah.
what understanding what the object
Object.
is, and then understanding what understanding itself is. So understanding what panya is that can understand the object.
So direct understanding.
Because the sampajanyas are what is,
It's already in Satipatthana, yeah. It's in the
but
commentary.
it's talking about what is suitable for for Satipatthana. What is the purpose of it? What is the object of it? What is the understanding itself, which has to understand? So it's not a matter of saying that at that moment it's pariyati or patipati, because it's the understanding what is understanding then that has to develop.
Yes.
That is satipatthana.
It sounds like Satyayana, Kichayana of the third noble truth. The path, Satyayana of the third noble truth, Kichayana of the third noble truth, this asamoha and
Not
the other
only the third,
Not only the
third,
third.
all four.
All four.
All four.
That's why there are 12.
12, yeah.
What's your point?
Well, I was just wondering whether, when Ajahn asked me about Kojara Sampajanya, whether she was saying that the pariyati, Kojara Sampajanya is pariyati and Asamoha Sampajanya has to be direct understanding. Was that the point, Ajahn?
Because you see that even one knows that seeing should be understood. So it is Kojara, knowing what should be understood. But at moment of understanding it is samoha, no moha of that object.
So it is direct.
Direct.
Yeah.
Can one, like if one was talking about Upanisya Gotra, understanding what is the object at a pariyati level so that it develops and becomes araka, Upanisya, and then Upanibandha, Upanisya. So is it similar to that, talking about what is understanding of what is the right object as conditioning the direct understanding by habit?
When we talk about the upachara nisya, we talk about a condition, upanisya, and what is the best aramana to be acquainted to. It's not preferencing like usual.
Reality.
It has to be only reality. And sometimes it's called the aramana of the Father, which means the Buddha.
The one that understanding has to accumulate and get used to and understand again and again until it is direct understanding and development of satipatthana.
That's why when one is so interested in other subject, it's not the upanisya kojara, because the kojara, the object should be right now of that which is not known, until it becomes one's habit.
So it's exactly, so it's the same as when we're talking about Gochara Sampajanya in that sense, except it's stressing when we're talking about the Upanisya, the habit of understanding that object, but otherwise more often.
And Ajahn, when you say other subject, doesn't mean geography, history, or anything.
Yes.
It can be just talking about people.
Whatever.
Any topic.
Like earlier we were talking about how it's all atta sanya, or how it's just sanya of people and things whole day, but the habit.
Talk about life and love and so on, not about reality.
Not about reality.
People often mention or refer to the Mahavedala Sutta, where it talks about states, cetasikas like Sanya and Vedana and Chitta being arising together, being conjoined, and how they cannot be separated. Well, that's clear because they rise together. And it says it's impossible to separate them, to describe the difference. And people have the mistaken idea that it means there cannot be the understanding of one characteristic or one reality because they're all mixed up together or conjoined together. When it says it's impossible to separate them, to describe the difference, does it just mean that because they arise together, it's impossible for them not to arise together? So they rise together, but still one characteristic, one reality can be known. So, great.
Or it maybe means that if you want to study Vedana, you have to study Vedana when it arises with the other Chaitasikas. You can't just take them out and separately and study.
About it appears well, I wonder whether we can find a text in the Tipitaka
For sure. Somewhere.
and where
We have to look up.
it is good. Ellen Weller likes this subject
Because
so much.
when one reads Tipitaka, one just go along without consider carefully. Even one word, well, appear well. What about the difference between not well and well?
Like, for example, clearly, like moments of vipassana, clearly, well, that is the meaning of vipassana, that it is clear. It is the clear understanding. So that's, and appears well. I don't know, I have to think of what the Pali term.
Can you help me with that? Because some people like to know.
And I think well here means as it is.
Yes.
It may not be that clear, but it's as it truly is.
We're talking about Chitta and Sanya and Vedana, Sankhara. Do they appear well?
No, not yet.
See,
What is the Pali word for well?
it's translated into Thai, so we have to ask
Right.
Pali.
Okay.
So we try to find out.
What Thai word do you use for well?
D.
D.
D. Just D.
D. So I think it can be, right, good, like good, when it's good, su, just su, when it's good understanding or good awareness. Yes, but
It may be, the Pali may be in the form of appears with a prefix or suffix, or it may be a separate term indicating well. We don't know till we find it.
Find it.
But from that word, it reminds anyone to know whether now it appears well or not, and why it does not appear well, and what is meant by well.
So getting back to our beginning discussion that Nina raised about seeing invisible object, and you said that, for example, the seeing and the visible object and the thinking about it are all mixed up. So when they're mixed, nothing appears well. When there's a little bit of awareness, there is just the beginning of understanding of these as different realities.
So, well depends on understanding.
And on the same...
maybe su, good
And it has to be with sati, sampajanya.
Right. And Nina, on the same subject, when we talk about seeing invisible object, and we also know there's hearing and sound, and we at least understand that these are completely separate doorways and kinds of realities. So it's possible for there to be the understanding that differentiates the different doorways, even though the nama and rupa appearing at each doorway may not appear well. but at least there's the understanding that they are separate and distinct doorways, different realities.
Yes. And different doorways, not yet clear.
Could
When
you,
there's
Nina?
different doorways. When it's not vipassana jnana, the mind door is not known.
Well, that's the mind door. I'm talking about different sense doors.
And even different sense doors, yes?
So there's the understanding that the sense doors are
Yeah.
different and distinct. Sometimes there's that understanding, right?
What did you say now? The sense door? The last sentence that you said.
I said there is some understanding at times that the different doorways are separate and distinct experiences and realities.
Yeah.
That seeing is not hearing, for example. That
Right,
visible
yeah.
object is not sound.
Yeah, but more intellectual understanding.
But it has to develop.
It's more now, at this moment, it's more intellectual understanding that seeing is not hearing. But do we really understand? That is the question.
But if we didn't have a degree of understanding of that, then how could visible object appear as different from sound, for example?
Yes, but
Oi.
people say we all know that seeing is not hearing. So,
But
very
it may
common.
just be thinking. It may just be thinking, because
Yeah,
one of the functions of thinking about the sense door experiences is that it ties together the
Yeah.
experiences from the different doorways
yes,
and
yeah,
makes a composite picture or
yeah,
concept of the world as we know it,
yeah,
which is a world of seeing and hearing as happening at the same time.
yeah. That's the answer we usually get. We all know that seeing is not hearing.
I think you're right, Nina, that we think we understand the distinction between hearing and seeing, but it's just thinking like everyone else.
Yeah, right.
It's only when panya arises can there really be understanding.
คุณนพดลฮะถ้าเราปิดประตูนั้นอาจจะเย็น
But when we're talking about seeing invisible object, there's the understanding that it's that doorway and not another doorway. That's quite clear, isn't it? When we're talking about seeing invisible object, there's no confusion at the present moment which doorway is the seeing doorway and which is the hearing doorway. Or is there?
I'm always afraid to say that it is clear, because it's usually thinking about it, the story, usually.
But like when you are feeling itchy on your arm, it's very itchy, and obviously it's the sense door. It's the on the body sense, right? But maybe for a few moments you think about, oh, this is not my itchy.
Usually I think of the story. I'm absorbed in the story.
But we never know, right? It may be a few moments you suddenly think about, oh, the itchy is also anatta.
I'm afraid to say so because I know. Hey, little panya.
Right. So it's we hear also that from hearing the Dhamma, we hear that itchiness and seeing are from different doorways. But that doesn't mean that there's understanding. We just have more ideas to show us that they're different. So like before hearing the Dhamma, we know that seeing is not hearing. Because there's the distinction, we do think that this is not, but not with understanding. And hearing about different doorways doesn't mean that it's with understanding.
Maybe just a little more.
Just a little more,
Yeah.
right. But that's how it
Nina?
starts.
Maybe just a little more.
And I think there can be the same issue that people get the wrong idea that understanding nama or understanding Dhamma is something different from understanding seeing now or hearing now, and people have the idea that understanding doorways is something different from understanding seeing now or hearing now or thinking now. So it's like sometimes it seems people have the idea that, oh, there's understanding of seeing and hearing and thinking, and then there's understanding of doorways or something. But actually, when we're talking about doorways or processes, we're just talking about seeing now or hearing now or thinking now. So it's the understanding of reality now that is the understanding of sense door. For example, when we say now that sense door covers up mind door, it just means that there's no understanding of visible object that's seen as a reality so briefly, and no understanding that thinking is arising countless moments and no visible object is seen. But it's actually the lack of understanding of reality now, not anything different.
And I think that everything arises and falls away in split second. No time to think about doorway.
No.
Only different people and things all around every day.
So it is just the understanding of realities. That is the understanding of doorways. No need to think about it as something separate, or to say, oh, at first vipassana jnana, then it's understand what is sense door and what is mind door. So it's something separate from just understanding right now what seeing is and what thinking is. And if you say, well, that's all just thinking, but the understanding has to begin now to develop. Otherwise, it can never be well or clear. One doesn't have to think, oh, but this is so little understanding, it's just thinking, because that's just thinking about the story of I who doesn't have enough understanding. It's not understanding right then of what appears.
I think this is an important point to remember. Yes.
So we're back to being reminded that understanding arises and knows what appears. That's all. And the understanding about different doorways also comes from understanding what appears.
Right. The understanding of doorways, the understanding of what nama and rupa is, the understanding of what dhamma is, it all comes from understanding what appears now.
It's just like I care too much of Nana's understanding, and then I was there at the moment when I cared too much about Nana's understanding of the Dhamma. What was there is actually loba.
Strong loba. That's why,
Patience.
yeah, the expectation, and that's
right.
why continually disappointment and frustration.
Right.
Because if it's someone else's understanding, no
No,
problem if there's no understanding.
Right.
But because it's the one who is so
Yeah.
dear and the object of attachment,
Right.
that's why it's frustration.
Yes.
And like Maggie's a little bit, but not quite as strongly,
Mm-hmm.
because some caring, but not some attachment, but not the same degree, so not the
Mhm.
same degree of frustration. So one can see that metta is the opposite of
Right.
caring and expectation.
Yes.
There can also be, conceit can also play a role too. You know, why can't
Right.
they understand? Because I've explained it so clearly and there's no understanding or something like that, you know, so that's mana rather than attachment.
Mana with attachment.
Mana with attachment.
Also attachment, right?
And we keep forgetting that it's because we don't have understanding.
Right. Yeah.
And it's not, the Dhamma is not another subject that one can learn and memorize. As Jan said, it's not about the numbers and the details. It's about understanding right now. And no one can make another person understand. It just depends on whether there are the accumulations and interest. Like we were saying yesterday about the one who meditated but really has no interest to study or hear more. So let them be be the understanding person.
Just to have something to be encouraged about, I was just thinking many times this today that had I been in Nana's place at her age, I would just run away from this room. I cannot stand it.
I appreciate her patience that she can listen so much, and especially even when it's some topics too difficult. So we're also very glad to have you
And
here,
I
Nana.
have nightmares about this room.
I would have loved to be here.
And the process of the process of beginning to understand this is actually just lobha, a strong attachment with expectation, and there's a sense of release. Understand all are by conditions, and then quickly, that sense of release, the pleasant feeling can be object to be attached again. To have that sense of release.
So one learns what is meant by just living naturally or at ease, and it helps to understand that the problem always comes back to the citta now.
Any question, Maggie?
I talked with Liu Yuan last night, and she had a question. She said that she know there's no person, but why we need to know the detail, and bother her a lot, and 就是 cheetah, and why she has no, yeah.
Why to learn the details?
Yes.
I would say, for example, she felt bothered, right? Wouldn't it be better to have understood that that is not she, just bother, just chitta?
I think.
Okay. So what's underlying the bothering is she is worried about if she does not know the detail, she couldn't accumulate wisdom.
There are many different degrees and ways of understanding that there is no person. It can be understood at a conceptual level, just an idea. You know, he explained why we say there is no person. Just like we can say, yes, citta is not self. Oh yes, I can understand that. But that is not direct understanding. Direct understanding is what we talk about here, and that is why there's a need to know a lot of details, because it means direct understanding of what is appearing now. Without understanding what is appearing now, the idea of no person will just be an idea, not understanding as such.
The idea of self is so strong and so deeply rooted that just to hear there's no self or there's just citta isn't enough, or just to hear there's seeing and what is seen is not enough. If one doesn't hear and consider more details, then impossible for that idea of self to be eradicated.
It depends on how much she'd like to understand. If she just wants to understand only Nama and Rupa, that satisfies her. She doesn't want to know more. But if she knows that there's much more than that which can be known little by little, it depends on her interest.
And when she's here, nobody is having expectation that she should remember all the names or anything, because that's not the point. The point is to understand what appears now, as for everyone else.
For example, is it enough to know that what is seen now is only that which can be seen? Is that enough? And that which appear cannot appear at all. If there is the hidden reality which now arising and falling away and experiences all the time. So it depends on one's interest.
I thought it was amazing that yesterday she could have so much. Not a different. Oh, okay. Oh, Beijing. Oh, yes. Okay. Yes. For the one yesterday, I appreciated her patience and interest, and to be able to listen so long and consider. But for Luyan, yes, also, if one doesn't consider and understand more details, then easy to turn away because not enough understanding, not enough confidence. So one may be tempted to follow some other way. So the discussion and the consideration of more detail is really important. Otherwise one just thinks, how can I have less dosa in my family situation, but not really appreciating it's just a conditioned reality that arises and falls away, and like in this example, how it's conditioned by lobha and tendencies in the past. So the hearing more details helps a lot.
Okay. Liu Yuan has one more question, and yeah. Oh, okay. This is the question quite commonly discussed on DSG about the sutta. The sutta mentioned Abhidhamma, the term, is really the Buddha's word.
Just to explain that a little bit more, is it really correct that the Buddha used the term Abhidhamma? Is that the question? Or if the term Abhidhamma is there, does it mean it must be not the Buddha?
I think both, because she didn't see Abhidhamma in the sutta mentioned. Right.
Can Dhamma be not Dhamma?
No.
So
Right.
when we talk about the truth, the nature of it, the characteristic of it, the details of it, it's still the same Dhamma, but better understand more and more and more. For example, Paramattha Dhamma, can we use that for the word which means all Dhammas cannot be changed, no matter by what at all. It is conditioned to arise to be just that, never change, no matter in the past, present, and future. And that is another way to express it, Paramattha Dhamma, which means that it's the dhatu, the element that nobody can change at all. Another word to explain or talk about Dhamma is that it's so very, very subtle, very deep, and that word Abhidhamma means that Dhamma which is so deep. So all Dhammas are Abhidhamma, are Paramattha Dhamma, no matter what we use different words, but it's still Dhamma which can know better and better how deep it is, how subtle it is, the same thing. Like seeing, see, who doesn't know seeing now? They seem to know that because they are seeing, so they know what is seeing. But is that the truth of seeing? I see, or if it doesn't arise, can there be seeing? And what does seeing see? Can it see a person, things, or what is seen is only that which can be seen, only visible object, which is there with hardness and softness. Nobody can separate that which is seen from hardness, but the hardness itself can be touched. It cannot be seen. But that which is there, which is not hard, another kind of reality. Why it's real? Because it is seen. How can we say that it's not real? No matter we know more or less about it. It's that which is seen, it means that seeing is real, and that which is seen is real. Seeing cannot see that which is not real at all. And seeing cannot experience hardness, softness. Whenever it arises, it's conditioned by that, like the eyes, and that which is visible object. The visible object impinge on it, and without that, there cannot be moment of seeing, which just arises from that to experience that which impinge on it, with 7 Jetasikas. So this is Abhidhamma, Paramadadhamma. It means that all dhammas must be like this. The same thing. It cannot be separated that in sutta, it doesn't talk about Abhidhamma. What about Ayatana? What about Paticcasamuppada? What about Dhatu? All are Abhidhammas.
So, Ajahn, can we say that the Abhidhamma Pitaka is helping us to realize how deep the Dhamma of the suttas actually is?
Mm-hmm. Because one cannot understand Dhamma by just reading sutta without understanding of what is there. Like talking about Ayatana, the meeting point, or the Four Noble Truths. If nothing arises, how can there be the first truth? The arising and falling away of that which is conditioned to arise.
Other question, the follow-up question is then why didn't the sutta mention about Jettasika?
Yes, why not Lopa is there in sutta? Dosa is Jettasika, but it's not mentioned because it's known already that Lopa is not Chitta, Dosa is not Chitta.
So it's initially Buddha explained in the Diva plan, Abhidhamma. So is that too difficult for a
What
human
about
being?
to the Panchavakki, Anyakontanya, the first Aryan disciple?
Mm-hmm.
He's not on Deva.
Okay. But still, your question is that too difficult for normal human being?
Only for those who haven't heard and have no accumulation.
Mm.
But for those who have accumulation, they can follow.
Mm.
I mean, the disciples of the Buddha, they had such great pandya. They didn't need to hear everything being explained in terms of this arising with this arising with this. They understood. They had that pandya. And I think, I don't remember what actually is the reason it was taught in the Abhidhamma was taught in the Deva plane. It's probably because of the language. It was not the same as the disciples on earth. They could understand it from daily life words, but there it's not a matter of we're talking with each other about things in daily life. So it was like a subject being taught to people who have never heard it before.
All happenings in the human being world is that not which happens in the Deva plane. So it's not necessary to talk about daily life, just talk about that which is Abhidhamma. Much more details, because Buddha, after taught the Abhidhamma to the Devas, And he taught to Sariputta what he taught. And then we can have the Abhidhamma group in that time. Those who are interested in Abhidhamma talk about it. Those who are interested in whatever just are different.
And I think because of the time frame, it could be explained very quickly in the Deva realm.
The truth is the truth, the matter he talked on the Deva plane or this plane. Same word, same thing.
The realities are the same, even if the words used are different. So actually, Cetasika is used occasionally in the sutta, but even if it's never used, the realities being talked about are exactly the same in the khandas or the dhatus. So exactly the same realities, even if different terms are used.
The question now is, we don't have a problem, but why someone else, the other person, has to have a problem with this? Maybe, huh?
Competence.
Right, but sometimes it's also because some people think that being mindful is being mindful of eating and walking, and this leads to understanding. But the Intl.Dhamma clearly points out that being mindful or understanding does not have concepts as object.
I think the main point is that the difficulty in understanding dhammas as anatta, and it's easy to read the suttas and continue to cling to the idea of self and persons. But when studying the Abhidhamma, it's so clear and precise about different chittas, cetasikas and rupas. So it's not for everyone, as Jan said.
And if there is no Paramata Dhamma or no Dhamma or Abhidhamma, can there be sutta? See?
The thing is that when we hear about seeing and visible object, it's now. So if there's understanding, why argue? There's no reason to argue. And that's what Abhidhamma points to, the reality now in our daily life. So if there's panya that appreciates it, then there's no questioning.
So all of each word of the Buddha is all about realities, the truth of it that no one knew before. No matter it is Vinaya or Sutta or Abhidhamma, all about Dhammas.
Any more questions?
So it's now seeing Vinaya or Sutta or Abhidhamma.
Question. It's now seeing 经常律上
就是 reality 啊，是吗？It's just Dhamma, reality.
Just Dhamma, see? By way of Vinaya, from monks, what shouldn't they don't have interest to see, like the lay people?
So, okay, then the morning discussion we end here, and then what time? 11:05 now. 10. Yeah, should we meet in the lobby 11:30? Right. Okay, like yesterday.
2:30 is the afternoon session.
Yeah, 2:30.